Jose, to hear more of that substance potentially at the Democratic convention when that gets started on Monday. Jose?
And Aaron, meanwhile, we're learning new details about how the vice president is already preparing to debate Trump next month.
Yeah, prep for that debate with the former president that's set for September 10th. A source familiar with the planning is telling our team that the vice president has already started some of the run-throughs, including a session on Monday at Howard University here in Washington, which, by the way, is where Harris went to college. Longtime Democratic strategist Philippe Reines has stepped in to play Trump in these prep sessions. He did the same thing for Hillary Clinton back in 2016. And a source pointed out to our Monica Alba that Harris and Trump have never actually met in person. So there's this real effort now to help her get familiar with how he speaks and behaves beyond what we all see on TV, rather in a face-to-face setting. They want to make sure she's ready for that, Jose.
And Garrett, you were at Trump's event yesterday. What did he have to say about the vice president and the economy?
What didn't he have to say, Jose? This was another one of these lengthy sort of combo speech and press conference events yesterday. Donald Trump really trying to make sure that Harris cannot separate herself from Joe Biden's record on the economy, from the rise in prices that we've seen across the last 3.5 years. And he defended the way in which he has continued to personally attack her, arguing that's just something that's going to be part of his way of campaigning, and that he doesn't think he has to be, as he says it, nice against a candidate whose party is trying to put him in jail. You see all the groceries behind him. This was meant to be an event entirely focused, or at least majority focused, on rising prices and on inflation. But as is usually the case, Trump was kind of all over the map on these various different topics. And I think this is part of the challenge for he and his team, as they want to use rising prices on groceries and on housing specifically as two big vulnerabilities they believe the Democratic ticket has that they want to try to exploit over the next couple of weeks. It only gets harder when the convention gets underway next week.
And Garrett, this as we learn more details about Trump's investments and income after he filed his financial disclosure form. What does it show?
Yeah, Jose, this is a federally required financial disclosure form, which can be useful, but it's not as specific as they would like. It lists income in ranges. So we can see things like that he brought in millions of dollars from his properties around the world. We can see things like the fact that he owns more than $1 million in crypto assets, but it's hard for us to look at things like profitability of those various enterprises and ventures that he has. A couple of the interesting notes, kind of footnotes in here, different from the last couple of years. $300,000 Trump made for the branded Bibles that he's been selling. And Melania Trump brought in more than $200,000 for an appearance she made with the Log Cabin Republicans this year. It's sort of a peek under the hood of Donald Trump's financial situation, which, as a lot of folks know, is incredibly complex, as we've all learned over the last couple of years.
Aaron Gilchrist and Garrett Haake, thank you both so very much. And joining us for more on this conversation is Zerlina Maxwell, host of Mornings with Zerlina on Sirius XM, and Brendan Buck, former press secretary to former House Speakers Boehner and Ryan. He is an MSNBC political analyst. Zerlina, just polling this week that shows a majority of voters trusting Trump over the vice president when it comes to the economy. Now, the vice president did edge out Trump in one outlier, a Financial Times poll. But what do you think the vice president has to do to close that gap?
I think she has to talk more about the economy, and you'll see that today when she's talking about the specifics. I think she needs to lay out a vision for how she's planning to tackle some of the most important issues top of mind for American voters, like housing and grocery costs, but also the cost of childcare and supporting paid family leave, things that parents and families are thinking about every single day as they go through their bank books and their bills and try to make ends meet. And I think that, you know, it's about setting out a vision that is in a stark contrast to Donald Trump and his vision when he can talk specifics, which is rare. And I think that once she does that, I think these numbers will shift a bit. A lot of folks are unfamiliar with what the vice president has been doing for the last 4 years. And while the big picture and some of the economic indicators obviously have improved since the crash during COVID, I think people are slow to feel that every single day. And so it's on her to lay out her vision so that people understand how her policies will help them on the day-to-day basis.
And Zelina, how does she either separate herself or join these last 4 years of the Biden administration's economic record?
Well, I think that she needs to remind folks where we were when Biden and Harris went into the White House. I think that one of the disturbing things Donald Trump does is try to change history and erase our memories of where the economy actually was when he left the White House. Well, when he was forced to leave the White House, because as we know, he did not want to leave. The economy crashed at the end of COVID. Now, the pandemic is not Donald Trump's fault, but he did not address many of the things that needed to be done in terms of keeping Americans safe so that the economy did not crash. Biden and Harris inherited that flailing economy, and they've built it back up step by step. And I think it's important to remind Americans that as Donald Trump tries to rewrite that history and say that he gave Biden a great economy, no, he did not. That is flatly untrue, and every single person knows that.
And Brendan, this, as the former president, is trying to, I guess, sharpen his attacks on Vice President Harris's economic record. Here's some of what he had to say yesterday.
She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. People don't respect her in the economy. Economists are laughing. They can't even believe this is happening to our country. And she wants to change a free enterprise type country into a communist type country. That's what she knows. She's considered far more radical than Bernie Sanders. That's all you have to know.
Brendan, how effective do you think this line of attack is going to be?
So that event yesterday could have been really good. I mean, they started off really focused on the price increases that people have shown in polls over and over again are they're really concerned about. And I don't know that Kamala Harris has a great answer for inflation. And she's putting out some policies to address that, I guess, this week. But that is a very good issue for Donald Trump. And he started off really focused on it. But then, as tends to happen, Donald Trump gets bored with his talking points. And so he deviates and goes into all of the greatest hits and starts talking about all these crazy things. And it gets lost. It would not be hard be a Republican candidate right now and put a lot of pressure on Kamala Harris on the economy, make her respond, make her feel the heat. But he is so self-indulgent in talking about all these other random things that it doesn't break through. And so she never really has to respond to anything. It's another missed opportunity. I think it's why that a lot of Republicans are frustrated with his lack of discipline. I don't know it's going to change anytime soon. This is kind of who he is. But it was a perfect symbol of how a campaign that has so many opportunities keeps blowing them at every opportunity.
Zerlina, a new op-ed in the Washington Post reads in part, quote, if your opponent claims you're a communist, maybe don't start with an economic agenda that can accurately be labeled as federal price controls. Could this plan backfire on the vice president?
I don't think this plan is going to backfire on the vice president. I think that a lot of Americans are concerned with prices, and they do understand viscerally that price gouging is a real thing that is happening. And so implementing the power of the federal government to control the gouging and ripping off of the American public as they go to the grocery store every day, I think that that's something that will resonate with plenty of American families. I would also say that American families are concerned about housing and grocery prices, as you'll hear the vice president talk about. But as I said, they're also concerned with the care economy. And so I think that as she lays out this economic vision later today, she'll also begin to talk about the care economy, like affordable child care, paid family leave, and also the type of care that so many folks who have kids and also aging parents have to deal with, and really create a care economy that helps support American families who are feeling that pinch and don't have enough resources.
And Brendan, earlier this week, I'm just thinking of your comments about just how he is not able to focus on specific issues and keep that message as a focused one. Earlier this week, Nikki Haley warned that Trump can't win by attacking Harris personally and urged him to focus on issues. Here's how he responded to that.
I think I'm doing a very calm campaign. I mean, we're here. There's no shouting. I think I appreciate her advice. I have to do it my way. I ran against her, and I did it my way.
So it doesn't seem like, Brendan, he's even considering that anything that he says is not focused.
He is convinced that his political success is all from his own genius as a political operator. My personal view is he won in 2016 because a lot of people didn't like Hillary Clinton. And then, of course, he lost the second time that he ran. As much as he was defeating Joe Biden recently, it was mostly a function of the fact that people just didn't think Joe Biden was up for it. And it wasn't that Donald Trump himself was actually that great. His numbers have never been all that great. So he's never going to change that. He doesn't think more attention for himself, more outrageous things, playing the old hits is always going to work because he surrounds himself with people for whom that's great. He loves going to those rallies and throwing those lines out and having everybody laugh at him. Like, that's what feeds him. So he's not going to change how he does that. And that's the circle that we find ourselves in. When you never get out of your bubble, you never realize that there are other people who react differently to the kind of things you say. And talking about your crowd sizes may rile up the people in front of you, but it does absolutely nothing for the people who are going to decide this election. I don't know that he can change who he is, though.
Zerlina Maxwell and Brendan Buck, I thank you both so very much for being with us today. Soon, President Biden is set to recognize a horrific and long-forgotten moment in history, a deadly attack by a white mob on a black community in Springfield, Illinois in 1908. We'll bring you those remarks when they happen. And coming up, we're tracking Hurricane Ernesto, which is now a Cat 2. We'll go live to where the storm is heading next. Later, opposition leader Maria Corina Machado galvanized voters in Venezuela's presidential election almost 3 weeks ago, in which the opposition is believed to have won in a landslide. We'll talk to her about why she's rejecting calls to hold a new election amid her claims of fraud by the Maduro regime. We're back in 90 seconds. You're watching Jose Díaz-Balart Reports on MSNBC.
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat and prevent all in one.
To those with migraine, I see you.
For the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura and the preventive treatment of episodic migraine in adults. Don't take if allergic to Nurtec ODT. Allergic reactions can occur even days after using. Most common side effects were nausea, indigestion, and stomach pain.
It's time we all shine. Talk to a healthcare provider about Nurtec ODT from Pfizer.
Why use 10 buckets of water when you can use one fire extinguisher? And to fight heartburn, why take 10 antacids throughout the day when you can take one Prilosec? For easier heartburn relief, 1 beats 10. Prilosec OTC. 1 pill, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
When is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro. It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro start working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
What does a robot know about love? How to translate that leap inside the human heart into something we can see and hold. The fingerprints we leave behind show how determined we are to give the world a piece of ourselves. Etsy.
"16 past the hour. This morning, Hurricane Ernesto is barreling toward Bermuda, bringing heavy rain and high winds. Residents there